Hey, how's it going? Alright, my ear just, only one ear feels like it has pressurized. So I have some cards. I've had something on my mind for a little while. Oh my god, can I knock that over again? That's like the third time. Thank god I don't have water in the dang thing. Anyway, for a while I've had this on my mind because, well, here's where it started. There, I guess, was, and I guess still is, a power struggle / feud between Blake Lively and Justin, I think, Baldoni. And for some reason, I think Taylor Swift and... Oh yeah, so yeah, Taylor Swift, I guess, is her close friend, Blake Lively's. And there was a lawsuit, and it was on TMZ for a while, like a lot. And I watched the TV show one, like, the other ones I can't really. But just the first original show, I will watch that. And so it was like heavy on there, this like beef that they had going on. And I thought, sorry, my wires are right now deciding to drive me crazy. But so yeah, they had this beef, and I just thought, this is like dumb. Why is it all over the news? This is like nothing. So you know, and then people were like I know the husbands or spouses involved, because it began to involve more people. And spouses were like, I don't know, I have nothing to do with it. I wasn't there. And then come to find later, it gets out from somewhere that they did know. There was email, there was conversations, there was involvement where people claimed there wasn't, these spouses. And I thought, wow, this is still really dumb. And then I was watching a show, which I've been watching a lot of lately, that are basically like Epstein files, or sorry, and I don't want to get like dinged, but those files and adjacent connections, which the more of those shows I watch, the more they totally confirm something that I've been saying for a while. Like, even before I knew of this guy, I just knew that they were Global Pervs Network, and that it was like Starbucks. There was like an installation everywhere you could go. And I imagine if there wasn't an official site, like one of the things that I saw today, they'll just make up someone's home for that evening or whatever. Oh my god, really? Wow. My throat just closed all the way up. Still gonna talk about it. Make their home into a location if need be. And I think that happened pretty often too. According to what I heard, a whole pretty long interview with a person that I just learned about today named Anneke. Dang it, that's her last name. I don't want to get it wrong. Lucas. And she's Belgium, and her life is just, now it's better. But being that she's mixed up in that stuff and trying to extricate herself and heal herself and stay out of it, because it's like once, like, they think they just own you forever once they have their claws into you or something. And it can be generational, these people related to the e-files, and there's so many connections and so many relations, you're just like, is there no one in the world that isn't connected with this guy somehow besides me? So it's, I mean, I'm expecting all of this. I've been kind of looking out for this stuff for like since 2015, so it's not as shocking as it might be for someone else. And also, I think a lot of people are keeping their blinders on about this kind of thing. But back to the silly argument. So then I am watching like a bunch of these shows about, or you know, channels on YouTube about this subject, and there are lots of ways to get information that is probably in the files, because there's people that speak retroactively, and there's police reports and lots of like press coverage about stuff. So the Epstein files, God, I keep doing that. Okay, so anyway, those files are not even like government files that are like all top secret or whatever like that. They're actually the man's files, like the e-files of the e-person. And so it's kind of weird that they're acting like they're like, you know, like war plans or something. But it's not so weird when you think about the connections, when you learn about how many there are. And it's like I've been saying, like the reality that we think is normal is, I think, in reality, the abnormal one. Because there's this whole thing that goes on that a lot of us don't see, don't know about, like goldfish in a bowl or cattle in a herd. Like, the herd doesn't know what's going on up at the big house, or that there's a factory, a slaughterhouse. Like, you know, they keep you kind of out of the know. So, and then it's hard for me to just even say it, even though I am believing more and more. Like, I pretty much didn't disbelieve it. And if you think about it, some people will make the same connections I did and work retroactively and see, like, hey, wait a minute, I don't want to do this way anymore, you know? So in other words, you sort of wake up from the illusion, because regardless of the entertainments and the distractions, you start to notice stuff like nagging at your attention, just little scratches, little things repeating over and over, and you just kind of notice patterns, and you start to wake yourself up and start to realize, you know, if I wasn't paying so much attention to that, I would have more attention for, wow, this is terrible over here. I gotta pay attention. Like, you're either gonna be like, how can I fix this? Or where can I run away and hide? Because you're not gonna be able to go back into your old distractions, that's for sure. So I don't know why I ended up there, but I'm going to just drag myself back to the point. Somewhere in watching those shows about these subjects, I saw something very similar come up, and then it actually led back to the original thing that I started with, was the Baldoni Lively thing, lawsuit. And so the thing with the lawsuit, the first coverage they were showing on TMZ, and then it kind of built up as they got more information, and other channels on YouTube or other like news agencies were reporting on this too. And I guess the problem was there was some accusation or alleging too much touching or overly familiar, too flirty, too sexual, something. But they're also like doing scenes like that, and then they're like running lines, and they kind of are like trying to figure out how to do the scenes where they're getting intimate or whatever. And there's like emails of everybody involved going back and forth that come out, and then recordings of the scenes because it is a set. So I don't know who's leaking that stuff, but everybody's accusing each other about everything. So it's just like, okay. But what I came to believe is the allegations were like, I ain't buying that. I think because when you see all the other stuff, you realize they're trying to drum up stuff. And what connected me to all of that, and the other thing was that one of the people that does a similar type show, sort of, she's like a media person, or she worked in it, or maybe she still does, I'm not quite sure, but she does like retroactive, like she'll look at the cast of the 70s, that 70s show, and then there's like Danny Masterson and Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher to talk about in there, and then even like the whole cast except for the parents, pretty much, like all of the older people were not involved in like a Diddy Circle or Scientology or I don't know, they were all into like some kind of weird thing, and then there was lots of crossover, like who hung out in those groups. Like I think Masterson hung out with DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire. It was just like all these, soon it's just like everybody. And then we talk about retrospectively, it just goes back and back and back. And I think it's pretty well known. Like even if everyone's kind of like, it's allegedly, but there's like the whole Giuffre thing that came out. So you hear a lot of stuff, and now, girls that are now women are talking. And oh my gosh, modeling has a connection, and modeling I feel like is just a reason to look at it. It's like free soft porn all the time, And so this woman who talks about, I just gave that show as an example, she talks about lots of stuff lots of shows because they are in a lot of ways all connected. There's like the child Hollywood thing, like the Corey Feldman stuff that he used to talk about, which a lot of people have come out since and talked about. There's all of that, and then they're connected to all these adults, and it's just like a marketplace, basically, and gross. And so this host, I'm going to call her, says she worked in publicist. I'm actually getting two people confused, but they both ended up working in publicity. And so the one that does the shows, for my own brain, to separate them, was talking about how, I guess the other person also talked about this, how basically the publicist is a fixer, and you always had to get in front of like all kinds of crazy shit, basically. Like you had your clients that were like substance abusers or inappropriate relationships abusers, and whatever, tax delinquents, just a constant barrage of crap basically that you have to fix, you have to get in front of and change the narrative and lie. And so this person was like, I had to get out of it because I couldn't, like, uh, my morals couldn't stand it. Like, I couldn't, in order to make the client look good, you had to be really creative. And this person was like, I just didn't want to be lying all the time, basically. I'm paraphrasing there. And I get it. And that's when I was like, oh, I see what's happening. So in the course of talking about what she did that made it feel so bad to be the publicist was you had to, like, be creative and find ways to make your client look good and misdirect, misspeak, exaggerate, underwhelm with information. But this person was like, at some point you're just like, covering for terrible stuff, basically. So you're, not saying something that's damaging to multiple people other than your client because of your clients. Like, it's diffuse, and so she had to walk away for her own sanity, and she I guess didn't want to look herself in the face, and if she was going to continue to do that, because sounds like, and I imagine it would escalate. Sounds like it was escalating. So I just thought that was interesting. But one of the things that she didn't feel like she could continue to do was, like, what's happening in that case that I was talking about in the first place, where it wasn't just the actor, writer, director, and co-star and whoever else on the cast and crew that was involved. I don't really know about that, but I imagine there are, because they're there, and somebody was leaking stuff. So it wasn't just them, like, sniping at each other in public and in social media and the press. It was also the publicists, like, making up stuff and going, say this, and just be, like, completely untrue. And then, like, later you could be like, oh, I was just joking, or, I took an Ambien, like, whatever excuse they're going to try and come up with. And they all kind of know it's the game. Like, I mean, according to these women that did the publicity, I mean, they both kind of, like, ended up not doing it, I guess, for the same reason, like, just the ick factor. So I don't know. The reason why I wanted to talk about that was because I was like, is that what we're doing to each other now? And we have a lot of concerns, like we'll talk about here in the States, like what kind of justice needs to happen after the current president is finished messing everything up. And I feel like I keep saying, and I'm going to keep saying, we've done all of this arguing, accusation, blaming, whatever it is. I'm not saying we're going to get rid of it all, but I'm saying we can change our ways. Like, the way we've been doing it with aggression and kind of hostility and whatever else we've been doing, like, it's been really hard to improve, and then it's really hard to make any improvements stick. So it's kind of like, maybe if we try doing it differently, and it's just as much of a hill to climb as anything else, but I think less so, because at least if you're sort of giving up on all of that stuff and just trying to, I guess, go back to a time where everybody wasn't wearing a suit of armor based upon their political beliefs, and you couldn't penetrate to have, like, a conversation with the person inside anymore. I mean, maybe we could go back to a time before that, or work our way back. Nothing too abrupt, because that's just not how stuff worked. But that's just, my suggestion. And I feel like eventually we're going to get there, because we're gonna get to the end of a rope with all of this stuff. Like, we can only go so far until it's just, we're just, injuring each other physically because somebody said the wrong thing, and that's just how we communicate, and like, we're not gonna go all the way there. So, okay, I have 2 declarations of Mary cards, of Mary Magdalene, and I'm just gonna read them. So, the first one I pulled was, and I'm not really that surprised I got this one. I've been getting it a lot, and it is so applicable to the current times in so many ways. But anyway, it reads, "For no soul may hold their false light over another in forms of taxation, lies, control, dictatorship, deceit, manipulation, corruption, ill repute, forms of spells, dark magic, contracts, certifying birth, that go against thy divine will of any child of God, seen and unseen. For all have the right to freedom to live in love as thou so choose as God's sovereign beings." So, to wander around without the armor I was talking about, and then also, like, all of those things that, so, I mean, it's like, it says no soul can do all of these things, and yet someone is doing it. But I feel like it's like a cosmic law kind of thing, like, well, okay, if you're going to do it, like, you shouldn't have, because you're not supposed to. I just told you don't do that, and you're doing it. And it's kind of like stuff you sort of learn, most of us learn when you're a child. You learn better, but, most people do have a sense of, like, right and wrong, like, what's okay to do and what's not okay to do. So, yeah, all of this stuff is just going on anyway. But you just have to live with that while it's happening. You can't single-handedly, or even with a plurality of people, you have to have a majority of people to change reality. So, I just, it's not, to me, an out-of-place card to have come up. And in all of those sort of, I feel like there's a religious parallel, like, the don't do 'em commandments, but it was not called that. The anti-commandments. I guess sins. But, you don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be that, like, well, everything's going, falling apart, going to crap anyway. If you can't beat them, join them, and then just start doing, like, stuff maybe you weren't even doing before, but everybody else is cheating and frauding, and there's no rule, there's no law anymore, there's no rules. I'm just gonna do it. Well, that ain't gonna last. Like, go ahead and stop paying your taxes now, but sooner or later that tax man's gonna come around, and then you're gonna owe more, even. I don't know where I'm branching off to, but bottom line is, we all have the freedom to live in love, so without, like, the outer coating that makes us behave differently. Oh man, I spit all the way over there. Boop, get back over. Anyway, we always have a choice. Like, we don't have to join them if we can't beat them. And we don't have to beat them. We just let them go. Go ahead, do your thing. And everybody else can do you. Okay, so the next Declarations of Mary Magdalene card reads, "My true voice shall be heard through the women of this world once again. For I am and thou art too, Mary Magdalene. For I am and thou art too, Mary Magdalene." So the spirit of the Mary Magdalene. And I think whether it be a woman or the divine feminine in a fella, that is, I think, what needs to manifest. Like, not that a woman can't be fierce and strong, and I know there's a lot of, like, sort of male viewpoints out there that are like, no, we don't even want you to do that. We don't want to hear about it. No, you're not. But, you know, all of the single moms over the years that people have had and that are still happening, that are still there right now, they're still out there single momming. Don't beat it. Don't knock it till you try it, till you walk in those shoes. So, I think that is sort of, would be the power of the divine feminine, and Mary Magdalene as well would sort of give us the backbone to not resist, the current sort of operating system of, like, my way or the highway, or the whoever's got the most whatever wins. Like I was saying at the beginning, maybe, like, we stop acting like that and try to revert to more civility and stuff, like, so we can function as a society. So, excuse me, I have three Starseed Oracle cards. So let me read the first one, and it is "Fall into My Arms." It looks like a person is sitting at a waterfall, because there seems to be some spray coming down here, and there's splashing rather, and person, they seem to be alone. I think they're alone now. It doesn't matter though. They could be falling into the arms of that, great pool of water, like into nature's embrace. Anyway, let's see what the book has to say. Fall into my arms. Fall into my arms. And the subtitles are Surrender, Holding the Opposites, Extremes of Life. The Great Mother ushered you in when you took your first breath, and she'll be there when you draw your last. She knows how challenging life can be, that being human can be lonely and confusing, that the polarity and separation can be excruciating when your soul remembers the oneness of Source. But at the same time, it can be incredibly glorious and sweet. So often we see things as either good or bad. When things go well, we make... Is there a period there? There's not. When things go... Oh, there's a dash. Sorry. When things go well, we make it mean that we're being rewarded, and when things are bad, then perhaps we've done something wrong. However, we're all here to expand and grow, and it's through the extremes of life that we do exactly that. You're being invited to welcome the highs and the lows of the human experience, to let them initiate you more fully into life. Feel that shit. Yeah, like, if you want to call it Matrix thing or a simulation, whatever. Yeah, we're here somehow inhabiting the forms that we do. And I think that holds true for animals as well. To, interact with each other in sort of pre-designed ways that, we have the agency of free will. Like, not everything is written in stone. I wouldn't say nothing, because that wouldn't be entirely true. Some things some things are immobile, they're stationary, and they have to happen that way because all this has already happened. For one thing, time and perception are very wavy and porous with each other. I don't want to get too far away from here, so you're being invited. Oh, I already said that. The agony and the ecstasy, the beauty and the bitterness. This life is but a single breath in the inextinguishable existence of your experience as a soul. The Great Mother wants you to hand over your loneliness, worries, hurt, sorrow, fears, burdens, and doubts, to lay them on her altar, to fall fully into her arms. I got it right. To remember that while these extremes are difficult, they can also be magnificent. The more wildly the pendulum of your life swings, the more truthfully you can say, I've truly lived. Starseed activation. Place the card on the portal of your heart and whisper the following. I'm not going to whisper. You won't be able to hear me. I'm ready to embrace the extremes of my life. Lay all that I'm carrying onto the Great Mother's altar and fall completely into her arms. Okay, so don't just throw it on the floor. Okay, the next card is You're Not for Everyone. Sometimes when we're a little different, we get very dramatic and go stand on a promontory with our flowing cape to contemplate dramatically our life. I'm sorry, but that person is just... Oh, shoot. What's happening with her arm? Oh. She better be reaching out to touch the sky, because otherwise it looks like a certain salute. So, do you see her arm there? Like, whoa, what are you doing with that? Also drama, like the originator of that salute. Quite the dramatic speaker. Okay, so it looks like this person is on a dramatic promontory, though. Oh, I was gonna say in sort of a, like, Red Rocks situation, but this actually looks like one of those... Oh, shoot. One of those weird illusions of, like... I'm gonna say this eclipse is imagined, because I don't know that they come that close. But I just realized, I thought she was in, like, a Red Rocks canyon or something. This is a horizon, and that is a planet, and I don't think it's the one that she's on. I think she's on one looking at that, and then I also realized that this here planet has rings. So that's, I just think that's cool. the rings need to be seen up close to be understood. But I just heard not too long ago that the rings of Saturn kind of like shattered or something. And that's too bad because I think there were photographs taken of it or some kind of imagery was taken, and the rings were like living spaces. Like they had evidence of living spaces, but it was like one of those secret things that you're not supposed to know about. So if that's the case, we probably won't learn about it for quite some time. I don't know. Anyway, you're not for everyone. Let us consult the manual. Come on. Okay. You're not for everyone. And the subtitles are, embrace your weirdness. Go stand dramatically, weirdo. Embrace your weirdness. Face your true north. Be yourself. The world is filled with people who, no matter what you do, the world is filled with people who, no matter what you do, just won't like you. But it's also filled with those who will love you fiercely. Those are your people. You're not for everyone, and that's okay. Talk to the people who can hear you. I was all, talk to the hand. Talk to the people who can hear you. Don't waste your precious time and gifts trying to convince others of your value. They won't ever want what you're selling. They won't ever want what you're selling. Don't try to convince them to walk alongside you. You'll be wasting both your time and theirs, and will likely inflict unnecessary wounds that will take precious time to heal. Inflict? Jesus, sorry. You're not for them and they're not for you. Politely wave them on and continue on your way. Sharing your path with someone is a sacred gift. Don't cheapen it by rolling yours in the wrong direction. Keep facing your true north. Pulling this card means you're being called to embrace your uniqueness, to your own weirdness, to let the world see who you really are, to reveal your multifaceted, multidimensional nature, not to dim your light according to who is in your presence, to own all parts of yourself so that your people, the ones who are the same kind of weird as you, can recognize you when your paths cross. Starseed Soul Inquiry. How can you embrace your weirdness and not care so much about what other people think? I don't know. I don't worry about it. Okay, final card. How am I doing on time? Oh, not too terribly. Okay. Okay, so we are the Hathors, which were an ancient Egyptian, I don't know if sect is the right thing, maybe. It seemed like there were like all kinds of people that were other than human people living in Egypt at various times. So if you look at this, you can tell it's Egypt because there's all kinds of the architecture with the columns, with all kinds of glyphs and things going on in the walls with the decorations and, you know, statuary. So the Hathors were, I don't even know how to explain them. I think they were part of like a priestly class or something. But there was like a hierarchy. I guess I should have looked. I don't know. How about, okay, here. Will you look it up? Because I can't remember precisely, and I don't want to stop. So anyway, I know that there's lots of like Hathor. Well, not lots, but there is music that you can listen to that is like the sounds of Hathor music from that time in Egypt, and it's I like it. I don't it. It's yeah, it gives me like a sort of vibe. I don't know, like if I hear it and flash back to ancient Egypt, that doesn't happen, but I like it. You know, there's something there because it's not my normal type of music anyway. So the reason why I said that they were there with like, there is a statue that looks like a person more or less, right? Regular features of a human: eyes, nose, mouth, ears. On the Hathors in particular, they look similar, but their ears are like a little, like goat or a deer or something. So I'm not sure what's going on with them and that. But, you know, let's not forget there are like bird head people represented there, and knowing us, we have it crazy wrong, and they were just wearing a mask, but they were like bird head and cat head, and so, or there just could have been more different types of people, or perhaps visitors from elsewhere, you know, just walking around just fine, unlike today where they have to wear a vest. That's not funny. Let me look up We Are the Hathors. Oh, jeez. My ears are ringing and it kind of almost hurts. It's on page 122. That's a good number. Come on, you're getting... Come on. Keep being, like, right on top of it. Really? One more page. Okay, here we go. We Are the Hathors. Hathors? Something. One of those. Subtitles are Deep Love, Mother's Milk, Birth as a Portal. Huh. That's right. When I first picked this up and I saw Birth as a Portal on here, I guess the Egyptian imagery made me think of this. But one time, Cryon was talking about reincarnation and how, like, your grandfather is a generation. There's like a generation between you and your grandfather, and you're basically the same person as that grandperson, and that's why in a lot of cases grandparents and grandkids are super tight, because they are either the same person or like a sibling from before or previously the mother. And so the birth is like the new persona, basically. But you've known people from before that you don't necessarily only know people from your family when you're newly born. You come from a place before you arrive where there's lots of people that have left this space and gone to where you came from that you know were related to or are extended family, because that is, I guess, a huge thing on the other side, by all accounts. So let me go ahead and read this. Birth is a portal that ushers in new life. The Hathors are here to remind you that you're a child of the cosmic mother, and you're being called to be held by her deep, never-ending love and embrace. This is a tender, nourishing card reminding you to receive the deep, deep love of the mother's embrace. The Hathors know that the journey on Earth can be rocky and lonely at times, but you're being reminded to rest more deeply in the mother's arms. So, I mean, it couldn't be more, of an invitation to go outside when you feel squirrely. But yeah, I mean, when you feel like out of sorts, or I know I have been feeling a lot of times lately, like it's happened a lot of times, where all of a sudden feelings are overwhelming, physical, emotional, whatever it is, but it's just like, it's been enough to where I'm like getting up out of the chair to walk it off. I mean, that is a difficult thing to do. Like, I gotta have the right footwear, basically, but I could just like work off my energy rolling, use my arms in the wheelchair, but I mean, there have been times where I'm just like gonna jump out of my skin, and I'm like, whoa, 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 like this, like I'm on Star Trek and we're, crashing and stuff. Just, I guess, gnarly energy, and then it passes. So that's fun. Has that been happening to you? Anyway, I don't know what the hell I was talking about all of that for. Okay, so, new paragraph. The card of extreme potency. This is a card of extreme potency, of femininity, of creation, and of birth. You're being called to mother yourself and others too. To be yourself or to be the child. Just I don't know. Musical chairs of reincarnation. To surrender to your sacred femininity. To create and surrender to your own creations. To hold and be held. You're being called to remember your place in the web of life and to realize that the Cosmic Mother is watching you every step of the way. You may be going through a transition right now, moving from one way of being to another. If so, you're being reminded that you're cradled in a sacred container, that you're more held to that you're more held than you can possibly imagine, and you have access to more love than your heart can bear. See, I'm wondering now that as I just read that, like, often in the spiritual channels, from like the Ascended Master or Angel or whatever it is, they can like fill you with a kind of energy where you don't know what to do with yourself. And whenever I feel that way, the only thing I try to determine about it is it making me feel bad? And if it's making me feel bad, then it hasn't really happened, or it hasn't happened at all. But I always feel like ready, like it's gonna happen. I don't want it to. There's just a strange anticipation, but it's like a blast. It's like, somebody plugged a big giant cable into your back or something, and you're just all, ooh. Okay, so I'll keep reading. You're being called to remember your place in the web of life and to realize that the Cosmic Mother is watching you every step of the way. You may be going through a transition right now, moving from one way of being to another. If so, you're being reminded that you're cradled in a sacred container. Let me try that again. If so, you're being reminded you're being cradled in a sacred container, that you're more held than you could possibly imagine, and you have access to more love than your heart can bear. If you're struggling in any way, you're being reassured that things will work out. Open yourself to receiving the overflowing love of the Cosmic Mother, flooding towards you from every direction. Let it stretch your heart. Starseed activation. Again with this. Place the card on the portal of your heart and whisper the following. I allow the deep love of the Cosmic Mother to wash over me. I'm loved. I'm held. Alrighty. Oh. Oh, great. I'm done. Thank you and good night.